here we go. We are episode 25 of the Dirty Dero Daily with special guest here, Waldo.
Hello.
And yes, thank you. Welcome to the show, Mister. We were in a podcast once before. We were in the portal together, but we haven't talked too much. You recently joined the Dero Dev 101, so that's exciting.
I know it.
But our new friends, I would say. Oh, looks like my laptop is working. Let me try and switch over.
Okay.
That'll be better. Okay, sorry about this, dear listener. Just having some technical difficulties. Give me one moment.
And I'll just take this opportunity to thank you for inviting me onto the show. I've been following you since May 9th and the Black Swan event. And I know that this is going to be looked back on as a pioneering event. So it's an honor to be here. And I look forward to the chat.
Okay, has that better?
Yeah, there we go.
Oh, geez. Okay. Okay. Well, at least Craig is working. You know, in the past we've had some technical problems with Craig, but this time it's with Apollo. But okay. Well, that's kind of you to say. May 9th. Which are you talking about? Last year?
That was the very first episode date, if I'm not mistaken. So, was it that far back? Good gosh, time flies when you're having fun, I suppose.
Yeah, it would have been. It would have been last year is when the podcast started. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Well, that's cool to hear. Well, you made it. Here you are on the show. Yeah.
I don't know about roundabout what I had planned to speak on. I was just gonna kind of spitball it a little bit and hopefully captivate some of your audience. I know your show pretty well, and the way that I think is gonna mesh just fine, I believe, or I hope.
Well, that's good. I think with that attitude, that will come true. I've got some questions written down, but anything you want to say as yeah, if you're familiar with the show, then I think you understand the casual vibe I try to cultivate here. But first question I do want to ask you is what inspired your username Waldo? I'm intrigued by that.
Absolutely. That was an old gamer tag that was given to me by a group of friends in high school. I'm from the South, and I was always the person that they were looking for when it was time to party up. And it was where I think at the time they were calling me my street alias. It was always, where was I? And somebody's like, you're worse than Waldo when it's time to raid. And we're just gonna call you Black Waldo, and it stuck. So I shortened it to B Waldo because PC culture is such a thing these days. I don't want to offend anyone, and especially not my own self, I suppose. But yeah, that's what that originated from, was a gamer tag, and it fits really well, believe it or not, with the Dero. With the Dero, excuse me, you're gonna hear me say Dero a lot because that's how I learned it, and I'm a bit country myself, so it fits with that whole privacy theme. I like to explain.
Right.
Waldo is the ultimate obfuscation. I miss that word up all the time, but the ultimate shell game Waldo is playing, and when he went to Dero, he stopped playing all those games and went private for real.
Very nice. I like that. I never put that together. Yeah, privacy. And I'm looking at your profile picture right now too. I never realized that that he was a Black Waldo there. Very cool. That's funny.
The artwork there. It's actually an NFT now, I think. Secret made a drawing that I did of that little guy flipping a table. It's an actual NFT that you can pick up. Holler at him about that if you're interested.
He also says Dero, by the way. I don't know if there is an official way to say it. I say Dero, but I don't know what Captain says. That's the real question.
Right. That's when we'll finally know for sure, huh? Don't get me started on that rabbit hole.
Oh, do you have some conspiracy theories?
Oh man, you know how the mystery of Captain is in the community Discord or in the official Discord even, people's always trying to spur up some kind of rumor or mythology about Captain and where he's at, who he is, and that's fun. That's fun stuff. It's food for thought, and a lot of people like that around this part.
Well, if you have any pet theories, I'm all ears.
My favorite is it's three people. I've always thought there's no way what this guy is doing can be done by a single person unless it's someone from the future or it's got to be a group. But that's what they said about Satoshi Nakamoto too, right? So we won't make too many correlations, but definitely not one person, right?
I don't know. I think sometimes it's easier to do great things with one person than with three. There's no bickering.
You're right. Just straight just your vision brought to life in the way that you want it to, and then if it's great enough, you can have people decipher it later. Yeah, I could see that too. In any event, it's immense, and whatever it is beyond my grasp and technological knowledge. So I aspire to be like them one day.
And how did you stumble into this dark and mysterious world of Dero?
Man, story into Dero. Well, we got time, so here we go. I was always pretty techie. I think my first taste of tech was in the Yahoo days. I don't know how old you are, but back when you could get AOL sent to you in the mail on a CD-ROM, you remember those times?
I might be remembering from a past life.
Well, in those days, you had dial-up, and you could get on Yahoo and chat to people, and it was really cool because people were starting to explore websites and communicate and really express themselves. So to chat with somebody else in real time was something really fascinating. And we would get in these rooms, and at the time I was really young, maybe 12, 13 years old. And I thought it was the most funniest thing to kick people out in the middle of saying something. So they had these little scripts that they would write that would spam messages that would just knock people off. And if you did it right, you could hear it going off in the background. And that lit me up. I was like, man, I want to learn how to do it. I want these. And it set me off on a path of I guess being a script kiddie. I could to this day I can't develop, but I can tell you what your program is and is doing versus what you wanted to be doing, versus or based off of that experience alone. So I went down the Yahoo road and fell into program land and ended up into video games. Believe it or not, like most young male adults these days.
Sure.
And it's everybody goes to that little, I guess, find yourself phase. So video gaming and the likes was the way. And I was browsing YouTube one day and looking up some stuff about the Vedics, and I found this guy named Cliff High. And oh man, it had to be back in maybe 2012, 2011. And he was so fascinating. He broke down some Vedic beliefs at the time, and stuck around to listen to some of the things that he had to say, because the way that he made that so clear, it being such a complicated religion, I just thought he was a genius. And he started talking about cryptocurrencies. In some of his videos, he would bring some of the developers of white papers onto his podcast or show, whatever he had at the time, and he would just grill them about their white paper, because he had a background in security, I believe. And it was so nice to hear him talk to these guys about flaws and their security. It just kind of ignited that old cypherpunk fire in me. And he talked a lot about different coins, and that landed me in the crypto world. We'll fast forward a couple of years because I was really, really new back then and had a lot going on in my own personal life. I couldn't really learn it like I wanted to. And I stumbled upon Pirate Chain. And from Reddit, there was a post on Pirate Chain because there was this big thing going around back then about the pick. It was a big pick that this group was picking up. And someone commented on this Reddit post, and they said, I'm not really concerned about your big pick. If you want privacy, you would check out Dero, and I'll leave it at that. And it got a couple of likes, and I was like, I wonder what he's talking about. And it was the best thing I had ever discovered. Thank you, that Reddit post. I wish I knew who it was to this day. I've looked to find it and can't. But that got me on the Dero path, and it has been a great one ever since. I'll stop talking now. I feel like I've been rambling a bit. If you are talking, I'm not able to hear you at this point. Sorry.
That's fine. I just connect. She's not good. Okay.
We lost him. Sorry, folks, having just a bit of technical difficulties. We'll sort it out, I promise.
Hey, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, just fine.
Okay, yeah, sorry. I'm just gonna stick on my phone. I think that my Wi-Fi is too shaky right now.
Okay, that's
so you were cutting in and out a little bit, but I think that was just on my end. So I wrote down if you said Cliff High, that's a familiar name to me, but I can't remember why. But you said you were looking up stuff about Vedics. Is that like Ayurvedic stuff? What is that?
the Vedics are a sect or segment of Judaism, if I'm not mistaken. Not Judaism. It's Hinduism. Excuse me. It was Hindu.
Okay.
I study a lot of spirituality, so it's hard to keep track with some of these things. It's a Hindu sect called
Okay.
the Vedas, and it's basically Hinduism, but they had a certain belief in the way that we move throughout the universe or the galaxy, whatever you want to call this that we're in. But it was Hinduism pretty much, and that's kind of what he was talking about when I initially found him. But his work on grilling people's white papers was fascinating, and that his channel on YouTube has been taken down, if I'm not mistaken. So fortunately you can't find much of that old work that he has now. But he sparked me on cryptocurrencies, and it was a Reddit post, believe it or not, that got me into Dero. Dero, what do you say?
Duro. Well, cool. That's interesting. It seems to me like it's funny that that when you started your story there, you started with spirituality. It seems to me like there is like the community seems to be more spiritual. Like I was telling you, like you told me before the show that you have some conspiracy or woo-woo tendencies. People might give you those labels, but it seems like that kind of describes the community as a whole. I mean, to generalize, and I think that's an interesting phenomenon. I'm not sure what that's about.
You said a lot. You said a mouthful there. There's so much to unpack. Um, the reason I think a lot of that novelty exists within our community is because we're the only online community that's providing privacy, and for novel ideas to come about, privacy has to exist. If not, you have no integrity. You have no basic starting principles for novelty or discovering something new. And that we're going to see a lot of it here, man. We are just beginning. The more we get developers and DApp creators. There's going to be so much novelty happening in our space because we provide privacy where no one else is. No one else is even thinking about it. They're after totally different values or ends. So I think the fact that we're providing actual privacy is why a lot of that's happening. And you can go and test that theory yourself just by turning on the news. The most craziest thing is making the headlines. Some things that you would never have even thought of just 50 years ago, because that novelty is trying to submerge itself in this reality, and all of the traditional ways have been fulfilled or are under extreme watch and have so many different control mechanisms on them. But we can get into that thought process if you'd like to. But it's funny you said that. I can go off on tangents like that for minutes if you let me.
That's a good point. I guess, yeah, privacy is very fundamental to sort of like, yeah, to human expression. That's a good point. Yeah, and I think also, yeah, just the values of the people that a project like this would attract, I think is also part of it, as you say, yeah. Um, I think maybe I should have asked this sooner, but I mean, I guess we're still in the first few minutes, but what do you want to talk a little bit about your upcoming talk? What are you going to be talking about?
Oh yeah, sure. I'm gonna do mining, more specifically, planning to talk about Sigma mining, and I started doing a little prep for that, which was a learning experience in and of itself because I don't think I've ever attempted to put together a presentation using the PowerPoint style. So I'm going to attempt a bit of it at a time, and hopefully we can polish something great by the end. But Sigma mining is so complicated, yet so simple. And I want to be able to explain it in layman's and to flush out some of the more complicated parts of it too, like what is function Astro BWT-V3 actually doing? And it's an interesting topic for me because when I first got into Dero, I was very active, I guess, in the mining subsection of it at the time. That was where I paid attention to. I think Nelbert was hosting an event for the second time when I first joined, where you could, as long as you mined for 24 hours, you could be in a pool to win a prize pool of everybody's mining for the day or something like that. It was really amazing, and I was fascinated by how miners work because of this good kitty inside of me, was still there. And I was like, I've been here for a while. I knew the way of the Atlantis, so I can explain that really well. And the majority of the people that I'm going to be speaking to, I suppose, are going to have a basic understanding of how that went anyway. So let me learn the Sigma mining and try to flush that out and present it in layman's and in a more technical way. So it's a task because I'll admit, man, I don't know much. I don't know much at all about why it does the way it does, but we're going to get there, and that's what the talk's going to be about. I wanted to do a stand-up comedy act, but well, baby steps.
Well, I'm looking forward to that. That sounds like an interesting talk, and I really liked what Kalina said to you in her podcast that we were on together. That was your strength was that you were coming from a more late, like that you were going through the work of learning it yourself would make you a better educator to laymen. I think that she's so right to say that. It's such a good take on it. So I just wanted to repeat that message because I think that's really wise. But stand-up comedy? Do you do stand-up comedy?
No, it's a pipe dream, kind of like the one of playing guitar. I if I had the time and resources, I would devote more time to it. But you know how that goes. Bills don't pay themselves or laugh.
Have you ever been to an open mic?
No, I scheduled to do one a couple of Christmases ago and caught quote unquote COVID, so I couldn't go.
Wow,
Uh,
did you hear that? That's a loud truck out my window. I don't know what that was.
sorry, I didn't. Thankfully
Oh,
enough.
really? Oh, good. Okay. Man, I feel like my side of this podcast is so chaotic today. Um, it's like, anyway, I'll just try to ignore it. Um, but yeah, quote unquote COVID. Yeah. Um, well, I think you should try to hit up open mic in Phoenix. While
Hey,
you're
I'm
there, why not?
I'm about it. At least I'd have you guys chuckling if anything.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, a few friends of mine are well, actually Hermes that you would have maybe remembered from the very first episode of this podcast. He does stand-up comedy.
Oh, awesome.
And yeah, shout out to Hermes. Hey, I really want him to do that NFT project. I don't know if you saw. He was working on Dero private jokes. He says he's chipping away at it. I thought it was such a good idea. Did you know what I'm talking about? Did you see that?
No, I don't think I did, but I'm definitely interested. Uh,
Yeah, well, this
I
is a real tangent, but uh, Hermes, if you're listening, get your act together. He's Yeah, 'cause I really like the idea. I've just never seen it before, but it's basically it's an NFT collection where each NFT is an audio recording of him telling a unique joke that he wrote for the collection. And then there's also an image with the NFT, which is an image that's AI generated, and the prompt is like the joke or something to do with the joke. And I just thought that was a fun idea. Daryl private jokes. And so yeah, Hermes, please do it. He
yes.
actually, it's funny that you mentioned that because he had said that, if he was able to raise money doing this, he would like to hire like a real big shot comedian to do comedy at Nonsensus. That was an idea that he was throwing around. So it's funny that you said that, but he hasn't released the collection, so I think it's too late. So I'm very disappointed, Hermes, if you're listening.
Hey, and there's always next year, so you got time, but you got to get on it. These
Yeah,
synchronicities
that's
like
true.
that, man, they mean something. They really do.
Yeah, I agree.
And
Um, yeah, go ahead.
there was a couple of things that I was gonna ask you about, but they were pertaining to
Oh,
the class. So maybe we could save that towards
okay.
the end if that's something you wanted to talk more about. So we could kind of give it a pitch, maybe, because it's
Yeah,
totally new to
sure.
me. So it would be coming from a newcomer.
Yeah, we can talk about whatever. Um, one thing I did want to ask you, well, actually, Asylum wanted me to ask you, do you believe in Bigfoot?
Oh man, you you know I do, and the reason I say I do is because I love that question. Um, because it implies the belief. And when someone can say that they believe in something, they're already letting you know that hey, that's okay that if it's wrong. And I'm not saying that it's absolute truth. It's a belief. And how I react to the disagreement of that belief is another thing. And if those beliefs are in direct conflict with other beliefs I have is a totally another thing. But hey, believing in Bigfoot, I don't think does either of those things. So yes, I do.
Maybe that's a sophisticated answer you gave to that question. Thank you. Leads me to my next question. What is your craziest belief? How would you say it? How would you
Oh,
answer that?
my craziest belief. I guess the idea that each and every human being has untapped potential inside of them and they're subconsciously psychic. And they just forgot it or are really out of touch with it. That would probably be my craziest belief.
So, okay, that's pretty good. That's crazy. How would you define psychic? What do you mean? What do you mean there?
Psychic, like the ability to, um, see or predict, determine, be deterministic, or you know how you have the thought that someone's fixing to call you, and you look down and that person's calling you. Those type psychic type things. Maybe even the ability to view. Those are considered psychic type abilities. Certain spots at call or on command, or to move certain objects. If you're really good at it, I believe. Hey, feel free to disagree with this. That you could even do things of that nature, psychic. So that's kind of crazy, right? What about you? What's your craziest belief?
Oh, my craziest belief. Well, lately I like the Anunnaki human origins theory. That's something I've been talking about for a while. I guess it's not that new now, but that's I like to believe that, and I also like, some people tie it into Bigfoot actually. I don't know if you're familiar or not.
I had heard some information about the Anunnaki. One of the first people that got me into thinking outside of the box was Jim Mars, and his ideas on the moon, and he spoke about the Anunnaki, but I haven't heard anything with them in correlation to what you just said. Is it something that I could look at readily? What were you meaning?
Uh, yeah, I could send you some videos and stuff if you want, but yeah, basically the rundown. Um, I think it's what's his name? Is that Zachariah Sitchin or something like
Yep.
that? He's got
Yep.
some books, and he's like interpreting the ancient Sumerian tablets. And according to him, if you interpret them literally, what they tell you is that humans were engineered by these, yeah, I guess these creatures called Anunnaki, and we were engineered to be gold mining slaves, and that we were like part Anunnaki. And then some people say part Bigfoot is like the other part. So like that Bigfoot is actually these like, you know, like I guess Neanderthals and stuff like whatever, like pre
Like a remnant
the
race.
early hominids.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they're still out there, but like those old like pre-human fossils and stuff are actually Bigfoot, and but we've just sort of driven them into the deep forest, and that we share like mitochondrial DNA with them because they were the mother in the hybrid, so it's like a Bigfoot Anunnaki hybrid. I just think that's kind of fun. So I kind of like to believe that.
Yeah.
So that's one of my crazier beliefs. Yeah.
Okay. See, so that's to me that doesn't seem that very far fetched. Very believable. I,
Yeah.
I,
I
I,
mean, it's not, yeah, it's really not even that crazy, right? Because it's like, it's still, you can totally accept all that within like the frame of materialism if you want to, right?
yeah, sure. And it would explains away some of the close relations to us and other primates out there, because Bigfoot has those similar characteristics. I like that one a lot. I've heard of Zachariah Sitchin before, but I don't think I've ever read any of his works. I'll definitely pick some up whenever I get some time to. He seems to be down the right track, eh? Um,
I like it. But yeah, right, about the psychic stuff you're saying, I definitely believe like in at least some form of telepathy. I mean, sometimes it just seems undeniable that there are these connections between human minds that are like non, that are like what's that called? Non-local, just across large space and without any kind of, a direct, verbal or electric communication. Like there does seem like there is some connection between human minds, I would say. And I also, last year I did some remote viewing exercises actually. A friend of mine hosted a little event with it was just three of us, and we were just practicing remote viewing, and I was blown away by the results. It was like really, yeah, it was. Seemed like there was something there. Seemed like we were remotely viewing stuff. So
Oh,
I would say that I do believe in that. But when I asked the psychic, I guess I was wondering specifically if you meant like predicting the future.
yeah,
That I'm
yeah.
not sure. And yeah, telekinesis. I haven't seen that. I'm curious to try to host my own spoon bending um night because what I think is that spoon bending is a scam, that they got trick spoons or something. But if I did one myself and I knew that they were all real spoons, then I could be amazed. But yeah, that's the only way it could work for me to really believe it. So I might do that sometime.
Yeah, the Matrix, there is no spoon. You just wobble it and um but the idea behind humans being psychic has actually been proven. Well, I won't say proven. It's been put to the test and has results that are seemingly in its favor to be true. And that's the same character I was mentioning earlier. Sorry to keep breaking him up. He's just one of my favorite. One of used to be and still is probably to this day one of my favorite online personalities. But Cliff Hire designed a webbot to crawl certain uh, data points of the internet, and he would take that data and run it through an algorithm that was developed to pick up on certain keywords and phrases that were being used in pattern, and based on those certain words or keywords or phrases, excuse me, he could tie them to outcomes, and those outcomes ended up becoming true. Several of them, one of them being the Banda Aceh earthquake, the other one being the price of Bitcoin hitting 64,000. And I mean, this is predicted way before Bitcoin even seen, those types of numbers. And there's a couple of others that I can't think of right offhand, but that were spot on. So, and that's just from crawling people communicating to one another, and just grabbing that data and getting the overlaps. So it's there, and it's in practice in certain applications. I wish it could be explored more, but I think it actually is, but we'll never see those documents or those studies, unfortunately,
Is
unless
that
we do them ourselves.
well? Maybe we will. Private Islands crowdfund it. Do you, can you spell Cliff High? The name is so familiar to me. Is it
Uh,
Cliffhigh or how
yep,
do you spell it?
that's it. That was it
That's it?
exactly. I
Okay.
think he has a Twitter. I follow him on Substack. Um, yeah, he definitely
And
has a Twitter as well. I could say he's a
okay.
lot of people, hopefully I don't uh, cause any trouble to your audience because some of his views can seem sort of abrasive, but the guy is a modern day genius. And I wish he knew about Dero. He speaks about how privacy is so needed, but I just don't think he doesn't have to promote crypto at this point. This guy was an early Bitcoin guy, so or maybe he already has that kind of stuff figured out and just doesn't say anything. You never know. But yeah, I'd like to,
Where
yeah,
yes. Sorry, go ahead.
oh no, I was just gonna say I'd like to be able to have him say that it's okay to mention him, but he doesn't do things. I'm sure he doesn't care who mentions or talks about him. So yeah, look him up, man. He's fascinating. Good information for the woo woo. That's where I got that word woo woo from, or the term.
Do you know his Twitter handle? I don't see him when I search on Twitter.
Yeah, sure, sure. It's right here.
Well, I'll put it in the show notes as well.
Yeah, it's at CLIF_HIGH. Just one F on Twitter.
_HIGH.
But
Just Cliff_High.
yeah, I think that's it.
For real. Maybe he's shadow ban.
Ooh, that would be interesting. And
Cliff_High. No, I think I spelled that wrong. CLIFF
nope,
underscore
nope,
HIGH.
nope, just one F on his Twitter.
Um, okay.
But yeah, the alt
Okay, I'll follow him.
the circle is all they all speak about the digital future that's coming, man. So every one of these guys are gonna know Dero before it's all said and done. It's just an inevitability, and not to sound too cocky or aggressive or abrasive about it, but it is what it is. um,
Yeah, I see it coming as well. I'm gonna put that there. Thank you for that. Yeah, no, I agree. I think, as they say, no one can stop what's coming, right?
yeah, it sounds
Um,
like gloom and doom, but it doesn't have to be, you know.
um, what else did I want to ask you here? Do you actually? That was one of my question. Was what is your positive vision for the future? That kind of leads in nicely.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I see another adoption phase, for privacy coins. That that's gonna lead everybody to to discovering Dero, and we're gonna need to teach. So I don't know if you were around for the swap, but think about the swap, um, but at a different level, at a more or not psychological, what is it, philosophical type teaching to these people, because it'll be almost urgent how we'll have to teach, but that's what I see the future being. A lot of us just trying to get people to understand these ideas, and you know why Dero is the answer. You know what I'm saying? That's my future. Us teaching those that are here now that will be considered OGs when that time comes. Uh, will hopefully have had a lot of students, because that's what our future should be. Is trying to teach this stuff, man. It's so much, and you guys are doing it. It looks, and I'm new to the Dero class, and a little late had a hurricane hit, and hopefully not another one. There's one just hit us on the east, or excuse me, west coast, and no got one approaching on the east. Hopefully it swerves off. But from what it seems like, you guys are really uh, building something nice with your classes. And is there any barrier to entry for you guys? Do you guys prefer a certain amount of knowledge before you welcome people, or am I good to come in being so new to it?
It's really just about how dedicated you are, I would say. Like most of the signups that we've had, I would say, are little to no coding experience. There have been some with more coding experience, but I think that the biggest factor is just how dedicated are you? How much time do you want to put into it? How important is it to you? Um, so no, I wouldn't say there's any kind of required coding experience. You can start fresh. I mean, even if you have coding experience, you almost nobody has Dero smart contract coding experience, so that's new anyway. And if you have no experience, that's a pretty nice language to start with. I mean, because it's called DVM Basic, and it is basic. It's not very complex, and so you can start with just contracts, and then from there you can work your way up with the various ways you can build user interfaces for your contracts and get gradually more complex. But yeah, the we try to make it as beginner friendly as we can, and we're always in the Discord, me and Six, there to answer questions. And so it's really just about how comfortable are you asking questions, and how much time in the week do you have to dedicate to the learning. I would say that's really what matters.
Okay. Yeah, I know. Before you guys came up with the class, I was always bugging Six about this or that. So, yeah, he was quick to respond, very helpful, very very smart guy, another genius. Is so yeah, it's gonna be fun. I might be able to catch the Wednesday morning classes, but definitely will
Tomorrow
be on
morning?
the Monday evenings will definitely be my wave.
Okay, cool.
Definitely excited for that. I don't think I had any questions uh or any more notes written down for you. There was a couple of things that I thought that I might mention, but they just didn't come up. So, perhaps another time. Um,
We still got some. I got a couple things written. A lot of things we kind of
okay.
touched on organically here, but one thing I wrote down. I mean, this is we almost touched on this organically, and now it feels like a kind of weird. But I wrote down, do you believe that human consciousness evolves, or do you think that human nature is constant, or what do you think about that?
Oh man, that's a good one. Um, to flush out, especially. Let's see. I would like to say that it's cyclical, man. Um, as we go around our orbit or whatever you want to call it, our pattern in this place, we hit certain phases to where our consciousness ascends and descends. And then the Hindus call those yugas. I'm sure you've heard that before, the Kali and the Sat. So it's very cyclical, and we are actually heading to an evolutionary part of that cycle. So, if you believe in those sort of things, we are evolving and will be on an evolutionary point for many many years, many generations to come, and that maybe that's a lot of the reason why we're seeing these freakouts and these panics in our global environments and markets is because we're transitioning from those times of I don't know what would they call that, the bronze times, and we're getting ready to move into a better age for human consciousness as a whole. So that was a long answer to it, but the short was definitely yes. Yes, I do believe we.
Yeah, I like that. It's a nice, hopeful answer. That makes me feel nice. Thank you.
Glad to help. Glad to help. With that and comedy, man, I'm telling you, we'll build our way out of this brick by brick.
Beautiful. Um. Okay. Well. Yeah. I don't know if you don't see a path towards whatever other topics you had, then that's okay. We can do this again sometime. Um.
Uh,
I guess we touched everything on my notebook.
yeah, nothing more to add. Just for the alt media people, I don't, I'm, we're small now, but maybe one day these alt media people will be listening to this podcast. Dero is 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 the answer to that impending digital prison that's encroaching that you're all talking about, and you're all very right about James Corbett, media monarchy, and all of these guys. Zero's the answer to this, man. It take back your freedom, line by line. It seems complicated, but taking back your freedom is actually really really simple. Come find out how over here at Dero. We're having a blast doing it. Um, and
Beautiful.
that's about all I had for that one. So thank you again, man, for having me on. This has been
Okay.
a blast. It's
Beautiful.
great to talk to the people in the community. We're so like minded. It's like having a conversation with yourself sometimes.
Yeah, yeah, it's awesome. I enjoyed talking with you. Good. No, yeah, I'm looking forward to meeting you at Nonsensus.
Absolutely, man. Have you booked your room? We're
Um,
all booked. We're ready. I think I'm gonna get my flight booked this week coming up, and then I'll start saving for shenanigans.
no, I still haven't. I will soon. I don't have a flight or a room yet. I'm kind of last minute like that, but I will do it.
Nothing wrong with that, man.
Yeah, yeah, but looking forward to it.
Same, same. And I hope to see you guys listening there. It would be great to meet you in person, clown out, have some drinks if you're able, and just to meet real people, that want the same thing you want, privacy and freedom.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it because I think we have such a strong community for being an online community, I think. And just meeting in person, I think will really strengthen that further.
Agreed. Yeah. It'll give us a somewhat of a face, anonymity can seem so uh, negative or have negative connotations, but when you actually see that we're just normal human beings, not people in the faux masks or what have you, it'll really start to click, I think. So yeah, that'll be a nice thing to implement. So it'll be cool, man.
All right. Thank you again. And yeah, let's do this again sometime. It was a pleasure talking with you. I know there's lots of stuff we could talk about. So yeah, anytime. Love to have you on again.
For sure, man. Absolutely. I look forward
All
to
right.
it.
And maybe I'll see you tomorrow morning, but if in the class, but if not, Monday. And yeah, we'll be sure I'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely. Well, have a good night, man. Get in touch.
Okay. You too. Bye bye.